German Shepherd was screaming for help from a deep well. What baby did next made everyone emotional. What you're about to listen to will leave you speechless. A little girl's brave act during a raging storm changed everything. And the shocking truth behind what she discovered will bring tears to your eyes. Like, share, and let us know where you're listening from. The rain came down in sheets, pounding against the windows of the old farmhouse like angry fists. 5-year-old Lily Morgan pressed her small nose against the cold glass, her breath creating foggy circles that expanded and contracted with each exhale. Her wide blue eyes tracked the lightning as it split the dark morning sky, counting silently between the flash and the thunder that followed. 1, 2, 3. A deafening crack shook the house, making the little girl jump back from the window. "That was close, Mr. Whiskers," she whispered to her stuffed cat, clutching it tighter against her chest. Outside, the wind bent the tall oak trees nearly double, their branches scraping desperately against the roof. The storm had started just before dawn, turning what should have been morning light into an eerie twilight that blanketed the countryside. "Lily," her mother's voice called from the kitchen. "Come away from the window, sweetie." Reluctantly, Lily stepped back, her bare feet padding across the worn wooden floor. She entered the kitchen where her mother, Sarah, stood at the stove stirring a pot of oatmeal. Sarah's hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail, dark circles under her eyes, betraying another sleepless night. "The storm's getting worse," Sarah said, glancing nervously at the window above the sink. "Radio says it might flood down by Miller's Creek." Lily climbed onto a chair at the kitchen table. "Can I go outside when it stops raining?" Sarah shook her head firmly as she placed a steaming bowl in front of her daughter. "Absolutely not. Everything will be soaked and dangerous." She brushed a strand of blonde hair from Lily's forehead. "And you need to promise me something, Lily Bean. Stay away from the old well on the north side of our property." Lily swirled her spoon through the oatmeal, creating little valleys that filled with milk. "Why?" "Because it's dangerous." Sarah's voice took on that tone, the one that meant she was serious. "The ground around it gets soft when it rains this hard. The whole thing could collapse." She kneeled down to Lily's eye level. "Promise me you'll stay away from there. Promise me, Lily." "I promise," Lily said, crossing her heart with her small finger. Sarah's face softened. "Good girl. Now eat your breakfast while I check on the basement. This old house always leaks somewhere during big storms." As her mother disappeared down the creaky basement steps, Lily ate slowly, watching raindrops race each other down the window pane. The old farmhouse had been their home for only 3 months, ever since Daddy went away. Her mother never said where he went, just that he needed time to figure things out. Lily didn't understand what things needed figuring, but she knew better than to ask too many questions when her mother got that sad, faraway look in her eyes. The lights flickered once, twice, then steadied. Lily heard her mother curse softly from the basement, followed by splashing sounds. The storm was finding ways in, just like always. A sudden flash of lightning illuminated the kitchen, followed by a thunderclap so loud it made the dishes rattle in the cupboards. And then, something else. A sound. Faint, but distinct. A cry. Lily tilted her head, listening more intently. There it was again. A high-pitched sound, almost like a child wailing, coming from somewhere outside. Lily slid from her chair and tiptoed to the back door. Standing on her toes, she peered through the small window in the door. Another flash of lightning revealed their rain-lashed backyard, leading to the dark woods beyond. The cry came again, louder this time, carried on the wind. It didn't sound human exactly, but it definitely sounded scared. Her mother was still in the basement, mumbling to herself as she dealt with whatever water was seeping in. Lily glanced at the rubber boots by the door, then at her mother's yellow raincoat hanging on the hook. She bit her lip, remembering her promise. But what if someone needed help? "I'll just peek," she whispered to herself, "just to see what's crying." Moving quickly, Lily pulled on the oversized raincoat and stepped into the boots that came up almost to her knees. She unlatched the back door as quietly as possible and slipped outside. The rain hit her immediately, soaking her face and plastering her blonde hair to her forehead. The wind nearly knocked her small body over as she struggled across the yard, each step a battle against the mud that sucked at her boots. The crying sound grew louder as she approached the line of trees that marked the edge of their property. It was definitely coming from the woods. from the direction of the old well her mother had warned her about. Lily hesitated at the tree line, rainwater streaming down her face. She knew she shouldn't go farther. She had promised. But the crying sounded so desperate now, so frightened. "Hello?" she called out, her voice swallowed by the storm. "Is somebody there?" Only the howling wind answered, that and the persistent crying. Taking a deep breath, Lily stepped between the trees. The woods offered some shelter from the rain, but the ground was a soggy mess of leaves and mud. Twice, Lily nearly lost her boots as she trudged forward, using tree trunks to steady herself. The yellow raincoat flapped around her like giant wings as the wind gusted through the trees. She wasn't sure how long she walked, following that heartbreaking sound. The woods seemed to go on forever, each tree identical to the last in the gloomy half-light. Just when she thought about turning back, afraid she might be lost, she came to a small clearing. In the center stood the old well. It wasn't much to look at, just a ring of stones about 3 feet high, with rotting wooden posts that once held a roof over it. But the crying was definitely coming from inside. Lily approached cautiously, remembering her mother's warning about the ground being soft. She tested each step before putting her full weight down, until finally she stood at the edge of the well. Peering over the stone rim, she could see nothing but darkness below. The crying had turned to whimpering now, punctuated by scratching sounds. "Hello?" she called down, her voice echoing. "Who's down there?" The whimpering stopped abruptly. Then came a different sound, a bark. A dog. There was a dog trapped in the well. "It's okay," Lily said, her voice gentler now. "I'll help you." Another lightning flash illuminated the scene for a split second, and in that instant, Lily caught a glimpse of 2 reflective eyes looking up at her from far below. They belonged to a large dog with pointed ears and a dark coat, standing in what looked like a foot of water at the bottom of the well. A German shepherd, and it was terrified. The dog barked again, more urgently this time, its front paws scrambling at the slick stone walls of the well. "Don't worry," Lily said, though her heart was racing. How could she possibly get such a big dog out of there by herself? The well looked very deep, and the sides were too steep and smooth for the dog to climb. She looked around frantically for something, anything, that might help. There were fallen branches nearby, but none long enough to reach the bottom of the well. She tried moving some of the stones, thinking maybe she could make steps, but they were too heavy for her small arms to budge. The dog whined again, a sound so full of desperation it made Lily's chest hurt. "I'll get help," she promised, leaning over the well. "I'll come back. I promise." As if understanding her words, the dog barked once more, a sound that seemed to say, "Hurry." Lily turned to run back home but stopped short. Which way was home? In her determination to find the source of the crying, she hadn't paid attention to the route she'd taken. The trees all looked the same, and the storm had gotten worse, further disorienting her. Panic bubbled up in her throat. She was lost in the woods during the worst storm of the year, and her mother didn't even know she was gone. What if she couldn't find her way back? What if she couldn't save the dog? Thunder boomed overhead, so close it made her ears ring. Lily made herself take deep breaths like her mother had taught her when she got scared. "Think, Lily, think," she whispered to herself. She remembered something her father had told her once, on one of their nature walks before he left. Moss grows mostly on the north side of trees. Their house was south of the woods, so if she found moss and went in the opposite direction, Lily began examining the tree trunks around her, squinting through the rain. Most had moss, but it seemed to grow all over, not just on one side. Her plan wasn't working. A particularly strong gust of wind nearly knocked her over, and as she stumbled, her foot caught on something hard. Looking down, she saw a half-buried metal object. Curious despite her fear, Lily knelt and brushed away mud and leaves. It was a sign. The words were faded, but she could just make them out. Morgan property, no trespassing. Morgan, her last name. This was their land, which meant home couldn't be too far. With renewed determination, Lily picked a direction and started walking, using the intermittent lightning flashes to guide her steps. After what felt like hours but was probably only minutes, the trees began to thin. And then, through the curtain of rain, she saw it, the dim glow of their kitchen window. Lily broke into a run, splashing through puddles, no longer caring about the mud that caked her boots and the bottom of the raincoat. She burst through the back door, dripping water everywhere. "Lily!" Sarah stood in the kitchen, face white with fear, phone pressed to her ear. "Oh my God!" She dropped the phone and rushed to her daughter, falling to her knees and grabbing Lily by the shoulders. "Where were you? I've been looking everywhere. I was about to call the police." "Mom, there's a dog," Lily gasped, struggling to catch her breath. "In the old well. He's trapped and scared, and the water's rising, and we have to help him." Sarah's relief quickly turned to anger. "You went to the well? After you promised me you wouldn't? Do you have any idea how dangerous that was?" "But Mom—" "No buts, Lily Morgan. You could have been killed. The well could have collapsed, or you could have fallen in, or gotten lost in the woods during this storm." Sarah's voice broke, tears mixing with raindrops on her face. "I can't lose you too." Lily's lower lip trembled. "I'm sorry I broke my promise, but the dog is going to drown if we don't help him." Sarah closed her eyes, taking several deep breaths. When she opened them again, her expression was firm but no longer angry. "We'll call animal control. They know how to handle these situations safely. But it might be too late. The water was already up to his belly." Sarah reached for the phone she'd dropped. "I'm calling them right now. They'll come as quickly as they can." While her mother dialed, Lily stripped off the soaked raincoat and boots. She was shivering, partly from cold and partly from fear for the trapped dog. She could still hear its desperate cries in her head, could still see those frightened eyes looking up at her. "Yes, hello," Sarah was saying into the phone. "There's a dog trapped in an old well on our property. Yes, during this storm. I understand you're busy, but the well is filling with water." Lily watched her mother's face fall as she listened to the response. 4 hours? But the dog could be— Sarah glanced at Lily, then lowered her voice. "The dog could drown by then. Yes, I understand emergency services are stretched thin. All right, thank you anyway." She hung up, her expression grim. "They can't come?" Lily asked, already knowing the answer. Sarah shook her head. "The storm has caused flooding and downed trees all over the county. They're dealing with human emergencies first." She knelt in front of Lily again. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. We'll have to wait for the storm to pass and hope." "No!" Lily cried, tears springing to her eyes. "We can't wait. He'll die." The desperation in her daughter's voice made Sarah pause. She looked out the window at the raging storm, then back at Lily's pleading face. Something shifted in her expression. "Tell me exactly where the well is and what you saw." Lily described the location as best she could, and the condition of the German shepherd trapped below. Sarah stood, decision made. "We'll try to help, but we need to be smart about this. It's too dangerous for you to go back out there." "But I found him! I need to help!" "Lily, listen to me." Sarah's voice was stern, but not unkind. "The best way you can help that dog is by staying here where it's safe. I can't focus on rescuing it if I'm worried about you getting hurt." Lily wanted to argue, but something in her mother's eyes stopped her. It was the same look she'd had when she told Lily that Daddy wasn't coming home, a mixture of determination and fear. "Okay," Lily whispered, "but promise you'll save him." "I promise I'll try," Sarah said, already pulling on her own boots and raincoat. She grabbed a flashlight from the drawer and some rope from the utility closet. "Lock the door behind me, and don't open it for anyone but me. Understand?" Lily nodded solemnly. Sarah kissed her daughter's forehead, then stepped out into the storm, pulling the hood of her raincoat tight around her face. Lily watched from the window as her mother battled the wind and rain, growing smaller and smaller until she disappeared into the trees. Then she did something she'd never done before. She disobeyed her mother a second time. "I'm coming too," she whispered, pulling the still wet boots back onto her feet. She found an old flashlight in the junk drawer that sometimes worked if you hit it just right. Then she grabbed Mr. Whiskers for courage and headed back into the storm. This time, Lily knew exactly where she was going. She moved as quickly as the treacherous ground would allow, following the disturbed mud and broken twigs from her mother's passage. She could hear barking again, louder, more frantic, as she approached the clearing. When she emerged from the trees, she saw her mother kneeling at the edge of the well, the beam of her flashlight pointing down into the darkness. "Mom!" Lily called out, her voice nearly lost in the wind. Sarah's head whipped around, her face a mask of shock and anger. "Lily, I told you to stay home." "I can help," Lily insisted, slogging through the mud to join her mother. "2 people are better than 1. Sarah looked like she wanted to argue, but another desperate bark from the well stopped her. "Fine, but you stay back from the edge. The ground is even softer now." Lily nodded, kneeling a safe distance away. "Is he okay?" Sarah's face was grim. "The water's rising faster than I thought. We need to get him out now." She played her flashlight beam around the well. "He's a beautiful dog, young too, can't be more than a year old." Lily crawled forward just enough to peer over the edge. The flashlight revealed the German Shepherd standing in water that now reached halfway up his chest. His dark fur was soaked, making him look smaller and more vulnerable. He barked when he saw Lily, recognition in his intelligent eyes. "He remembers me," Lily whispered. "Dogs are smart that way," Sarah said, unwinding the rope she'd brought. "I'm going to try to make a loop he can step into, then we'll pull him up." She worked quickly, fashioning a crude harness from the rope. "The problem is getting him to understand what to do," she muttered, mostly to herself. "He'll understand," Lily said with the absolute confidence of a child. "He's smart." Sarah gave her daughter a quick smile, then turned back to the well. "Here goes nothing." She lowered the rope slowly, talking to the dog in a soothing voice. "Hey there, big guy. We're going to get you out of there. Just step into this loop. That's all you need to do." The dog watched the rope descend, ears pricked forward with interest. When it reached the water, he sniffed at it cautiously. "That's it," Sarah encouraged. "Step in, buddy." But the German Shepherd just nosed at the rope, not understanding what was wanted of him. After a few moments, he backed away, whining in distress. Sarah tried again, dipping the loop under the water where his paws were, hoping he might accidentally step into it. But the dog just moved away, growing more agitated. "It's not working," Sarah said, frustration evident in her voice. "He doesn't understand." Lily watched, biting her lip. Then she had an idea. "Maybe he needs to see it work first." "What do you mean?" Lily unzipped her jacket pocket and pulled out Mr. Whiskers, now soggy and bedraggled. "Show him with my stuffed cat. Lower Mr. Whiskers into the loop, then pull him up." Sarah looked skeptical, but took the stuffed animal. "Worth a try, I guess." She lowered the toy into the well, placed it carefully in the loop, then pulled it up slowly. The German Shepherd watched with rapt attention, following the toy's progress all the way to the top. "Good thinking, Lily," Sarah said with newfound respect. "Let's try again." This time, when she lowered the rope, the dog approached it more confidently. With some coaxing and a few false starts, he finally stepped one paw, then another, into the loop. "Yes!" Sarah exclaimed. "Good boy!" She began to pull, but almost immediately encountered a problem. The dog was heavy, and the rain-slick rope kept slipping through her fingers. "I can't get enough leverage," she grunted, struggling to maintain her grip. Without hesitation, Lily moved forward to help, grabbing the rope behind her mother. "Lily, no! Stay back!" Sarah warned. But it was too late. As Lily threw her weight backward to help pull, the softened ground at the edge of the well gave way. Sarah screamed as she watched her daughter disappear into the darkness, a shower of mud and stones following her down. "Lily!" Sarah's scream echoed down the well, a sound more terrifying than any thunder. The world seemed to move in slow motion as Lily tumbled through darkness. She expected to hit cold water, but instead landed on something soft and warm that yelped at the impact. The German Shepherd. Her small body had collided with the dog, both of them splashing into the rising water. "Lily, can you hear me?" Sarah's panic-stricken voice echoed down the well, along with the beam of her flashlight that danced wildly across the stone walls. "I'm okay, Mom," Lily called back, her voice shaking. She struggled to her feet, water now reaching her waist. The cold stole her breath away, making her gasp. "The dog broke my fall!" The German Shepherd stood beside her, surprisingly calm despite the shock of her landing. In the dim light from above, Lily could see him more clearly now. His dark coat was mostly black with tan markings on his face and legs. One ear stood perfectly upright while the other flopped over at the tip. His eyes, amber and intelligent, watched her carefully. "Don't move, baby! I'm going to get help!" Sarah's voice cracked with fear. Lily looked up at the circle of stormy sky visible from the bottom of the well. The walls rose up around her like a stone prison, impossibly high and slick with moss and rainwater. There was no way she could climb out on her own. "Hurry, Mom! The water's getting higher!" She wasn't exaggerating. With every passing minute, the water level crept upward. What had been at her waist now reached the middle of her chest, forcing her to stand on tiptoes. The dog paddled beside her, his breathing growing more labored. "It's okay," she whispered to him, trying to sound braver than she felt. "My mom will get us out." The German Shepherd whined softly and pressed against her, as if taking comfort from her presence. Lily wrapped her arms around his neck, both to comfort him and to help herself stay afloat. The minutes stretched on like hours. The rain continued to pour down, splashing into the well and accelerating the rising water level. Lily's teeth chattered from the cold, and her limbs were growing numb. The dog, though a strong swimmer, was clearly tiring. "Mom!" she called up again, her voice smaller now. No answer came. Had her mother left to get help? How long would that take? Would help arrive in time? The water had reached Lily's shoulders now. Soon she wouldn't be able to touch the bottom at all. Panic fluttered in her chest like a trapped bird. She had to do something, anything, to buy them more time. Looking around the circular stone wall, Lily spotted a small ledge about a foot above the current water level. If she could somehow get up there, she could stay dry a little longer. But the ledge was narrow, probably only big enough for one, the dog or her, a choice no 5-year-old should have to make. "Come on," she said to the German Shepherd, swimming awkwardly toward the ledge. "I'll help you up first." Reaching the spot, Lily pushed against the wall with her feet, lifting herself high enough to grab the ledge. She pulled herself up with trembling arms, then turned to face the dog. "Here, boy," she called softly, patting the space beside her. It was even smaller than she'd thought, barely enough room for her, let alone a large German Shepherd. The dog swam to her, front paws scrabbling at the slippery stone. Lily grabbed his collar, straining with all her might to help him up. For a moment, she thought they'd make it. His front half lifted out of the water, paws gaining purchase on the narrow shelf. Then his weight proved too much. The dog slipped back into the water with a splash, taking Lily with him. They both went under briefly before surfacing, Lily sputtering and coughing. "I'm sorry," she cried, hugging the dog as they treaded water together. "I tried." Above them, the circle of sky had darkened further as evening approached. The storm showed no signs of letting up. Lily wondered if this was how it would end. Her and this brave dog, strangers until today, facing their final moments together in the rising waters of an abandoned well. No, she wouldn't accept that. Her mother would return. Help would come. They just needed to hold on. "We have to keep swimming," she told the dog, her voice steadier than she expected. "We can take turns resting." As if understanding, the German Shepherd moved closer, allowing Lily to drape an arm over his back. With his support, she could float more easily, conserving her energy. His powerful legs kicked beneath the water, keeping them both afloat. Time blurred. The water continued to rise. Lily's consciousness began to drift, her body growing heavier as hypothermia set in. Only the dog's occasional nudge kept her from slipping under completely. Then, just as darkness threatened to claim her, a voice called down. Not her mother's, but a man's, deep and gruff. "Hello down there! Hold on!" Lily blinked up at the new beam of light shining down. "Help!" she managed weakly. "Please help us!" "I've got a rope," the voice called. "I'm going to lower it to you. Can you grab it?" "I'll try," Lily answered, fighting to stay alert. A rope snaked down into the well, its end fashioned into a large loop. It dangled just above the water's surface, within arm's reach. "Put it around yourself," the voice instructed. "Under your arms, like a vest." With fumbling fingers, Lily grabbed the rope and tried to follow the instructions. But her coordination was gone, her strength fading fast. Seeing her struggle, the German Shepherd did something remarkable. He took the rope gently in his teeth and pulled it toward her, helping her thread her arms through the loop. Once it was secure around her chest, he released it and backed away. "I've got it," Lily called up weakly. "But the dog—" "We'll get the dog next," the voice promised. "Hold tight now." The rope went taut, and Lily felt herself being lifted from the water. But as she rose, panic seized her. She couldn't leave her four-legged savior behind. "No, the dog first!" she cried, struggling against the rope. "Lily, stop!" This time it was her mother's voice. "Let us pull you up!" "Not without him!" Tears streamed down Lily's face as she looked down at the German Shepherd, still swimming valiantly below, his eyes fixed on her. "Please!" A moment of silence followed, then the rope slackened, lowering her back to the water. The German Shepherd immediately swam to her side. "We're sending down a bigger harness," the man's voice called. "Try to get both of you in it." A larger loop descended, this one wide enough for both Lily and the dog. With the last of her strength, Lily guided the German Shepherd into position, then wrapped her arms around his neck, securing them both in the makeshift harness. "Ready?" she called. The ascent was slow and jerky. Twice they bumped against the stone wall, the impact nearly dislodging them from the rope. But Lily held tight to the dog, and he remained remarkably still, as if understanding the importance of their cooperation. Finally, they neared the top. Hands reached down, her mother's slender ones and larger weathered ones belonging to an elderly man Lily had never seen before. Together, they hauled the soaking pair over the edge of the well and onto solid ground. "Lily!" Sarah gathered her daughter into her arms, sobbing. "Oh my God! You're alive! You're alive!" Lily clung to her mother, shivering violently, but her eyes sought out the German Shepherd. He stood on shaky legs beside them, water streaming from his thick coat. When he caught her looking, his tail gave a single weary wag. "The dog saved me, Mom," Lily whispered through chattering teeth. "He helped me stay afloat." The elderly man knelt beside the dog, running gentle hands over his body. "He's exhausted and cold, but I don't see any serious injuries. Remarkable animal." Sarah looked up at the man, still clutching Lily to her chest. "Mr. Harrison, I can't thank you enough. If you hadn't heard me calling for help, just lucky I was checking my fence line before the storm got worse," the man, Mr. Harrison, said, waving away her thanks. "Though luck had nothing to do with what I just witnessed." He nodded toward Lily and the dog. "That was something special." Lily reached out a trembling hand toward the German Shepherd, who immediately moved closer, allowing her to touch his wet fur. "Can we take him home, Mom? Please?" Sarah hesitated, looking from her daughter to the dog and back again. The German Shepherd met her gaze steadily, as if pleading his own case. "He's wearing a collar," Mr. Harrison pointed out, examining the dog more closely. "No tags, though. Might be lost or abandoned." A particularly violent shiver racked Lily's small frame, reminding everyone of their immediate priorities. "We need to get you both warm and dry," Sarah said decisively. "Mr. Harrison, could you help us back to the house? I don't think Lily can walk, and I can't carry both her and the dog." "Of course." The elderly man scooped Lily into his arms with surprising strength for someone his age. "Lead the way." Sarah helped the German Shepherd to his feet, and together the strange procession made its way back through the woods. The storm still raged, but it seemed less threatening now, its fury no match for the relief of rescue. By the time they reached the farmhouse, Lily's eyes were drooping with exhaustion. Sarah quickly stripped off her daughter's soaked clothes and wrapped her in warm blankets while Mr. Harrison built up the fire in the living room fireplace. The German Shepherd collapsed on the hearth rug, his sides heaving with each breath. When Sarah brought towels to dry him, he accepted her ministrations with gentle dignity, his eyes never leaving Lily's bundled form on the couch. "He needs a name," Lily murmured sleepily as her mother tucked another blanket around her. "Let's worry about that after we find out if he belongs to someone," Sarah said, though her tone had softened considerably when addressing the dog. Mr. Harrison settled into an armchair, accepting the cup of coffee Sarah offered. "Mighty brave thing you did, little lady," he said to Lily. "Not many grown men would have kept their wits about them like you did down in that well." Lily smiled faintly. "I was scared. But he wasn't," she pointed to the German Shepherd. "He knew what to do." "Animals often do," Mr. Harrison nodded, "especially the smart ones, and German Shepherds are among the smartest." "You know about dogs?" Sarah asked, sitting on the edge of the couch beside Lily. "Raised and trained them most of my life," the old man replied. "Military dogs mainly, back when I served. This fellow here shows signs of good training. The way he helped with the rope, stayed calm under pressure. That doesn't come naturally." Lily's eyes widened. "So he's a hero dog?" Mr. Harrison chuckled. "Could be, or just a well-trained pet who got separated from his owner." The conversation paused as a particularly loud thunderclap shook the house. The German Shepherd lifted his head alertly, but didn't seem distressed by the noise. Another sign of good training, according to Mr. Harrison. "We should call someone," Sarah said suddenly. "Report that we found him. The owner must be worried sick." "Phone lines are down," Mr. Harrison replied. "Cell service too, most likely. Storms knocked out power to half the county, from what I heard on my radio before I came out to check my fences. Sarah sighed, running a hand through her damp hair. So we wait until the storm passes. He can stay with us until then, right, Mom? Lily's voice held a note of anxiety. We owe him. Before Sarah could answer, headlights swept across the living room window as a vehicle pulled into their driveway. The German Shepherd was on his feet instantly, a low growl rumbling in his throat. Are you expecting someone? Mr. Harrison asked, rising from his chair with surprising agility. Sarah shook her head, moving to the window to peer out. It's a sheriff's department vehicle, she reported, relief evident in her voice. Someone must have reported Lily missing. She went to open the front door as heavy footsteps climbed the porch steps. The German Shepherd positioned himself between Lily and the door, his stance alert but not aggressive. A tall figure in a rain-slicked uniform stepped inside, removing his hat to reveal a weathered face and salt and pepper hair. Mrs. Morgan, I'm Sheriff Daniels. Got a report of a missing child in this area. My daughter's here, Sarah said quickly. There was an accident. She fell into the old well on our property, but we got her out. She's okay. The sheriff's eyebrows rose as he took in the scene. Lily bundled on the couch, Mr. Harrison standing by the fireplace, and the German Shepherd watching him intently. Glad to hear it, he said, then frowned as his gaze settled on the dog. Where did you find that animal? Something in his tone made Sarah pause. He was trapped in the well too. Why? Sheriff Daniels stepped further into the room, his hand moving to rest on his holstered weapon. That dog matches the description of one reported stolen from the county animal shelter 2 days ago. The mood in the room shifted instantly. The German Shepherd's hackles rose slightly, though he remained silent. Stolen? Sarah repeated, moving protectively toward Lily. Why would someone steal a shelter dog? The sheriff's expression darkened. That's no ordinary shelter dog, ma'am. He was a police K-9 before his handler died in the line of duty 6 months ago. Name's Max. He was being evaluated for reassignment when someone broke into the shelter and took him. Lily gasped softly. Max, she whispered, testing the name. The dog's ears twitched in response. Mr. Harrison was studying the German Shepherd with new interest. That explains the training I noticed. But why was he in a shelter instead of staying with the police department? Budget cuts, Sheriff Daniels said curtly, and he wasn't adapting well after losing his handler. Became withdrawn, wouldn't work with anyone new. His eyes narrowed. The question is, how did he end up in your well? Before anyone could speculate, the sound of another vehicle approaching drew their attention. This one moved more slowly, its headlights sweeping across the yard as if searching for something. The effect on Max was immediate and dramatic. His entire body tensed, a deep growl building in his chest. His lips pulled back, revealing sharp teeth. Something's wrong, Mr. Harrison said quietly, moving to stand beside the dog. He doesn't like whoever's out there. Sheriff Daniels moved to the window, hands still on his holstered gun. Black pickup truck, 2 men inside. Don't recognize it. Should we be worried? Sarah asked, wrapping a protective arm around Lily. The sheriff didn't answer immediately, watching as the truck slowed to a stop in front of the house. Could be people seeking shelter from the storm, he said finally, though his tone suggested he didn't believe it. Max's growl grew louder as car doors slammed outside. Footsteps splashed through puddles, approaching the house. Mom, I'm scared, Lily whispered, clutching her blankets tighter. It's all right, sweetie, Sarah assured her, though her own face had paled. Sheriff Daniels is here. A heavy knock sounded at the door, 3 sharp raps that seemed to echo through the tense silence that had fallen. Sheriff Daniels motioned for everyone to stay back as he moved to answer it. Max shadowed his movements, still growling softly. The door swung open to reveal 2 men in rain gear, their faces partially obscured by their hood. The taller one spoke first. Sorry to bother you folks so late. We're looking for our dog, German Shepherd, ran off during the storm. His eyes moved past the sheriff, spotting Max inside. There he is! Duke, come here, boy. Max's growl escalated to a snarl, his body coiled tight as a spring. Sheriff Daniels didn't move from the doorway. This dog's name is Max, not Duke. He was reported stolen from the county shelter. The shorter man pushed forward, his face hardening. There's been a misunderstanding. That's our dog, and we've got papers to prove it. Let's see them, the sheriff challenged. "They're in the truck," the taller man said quickly. "We'll just grab our dog first." "No one's grabbing anything." Mr. Harrison stepped forward, his elderly frame somehow imposing. "That dog was in my neighbor's well, half drowned. If he's yours, how did he get there?" The two men exchanged a glance, something dangerous flickering in their eyes. "Who are these people, Lily?" the stranger asked, pointing to the people around her. "Do you know what they're going to do to you?" Lily pressed closer to her mother, confusion and fear written across her face. What did the strangers want with Max? And why were they lying about him being their dog? Have you ever felt that gut feeling that something wasn't right? Like these strangers giving off those bad vibes? Tell us about a time when your instincts warned you about people with hidden motives. Sheriff Daniels stepped forward, placing himself more firmly between the strangers and the people inside the house. His posture changed subtly, one hand still resting on his holstered weapon. "I think you gentlemen should step back now. We can sort this out down at the station tomorrow." "We ain't going nowhere without our dog," the shorter man growled, his hand disappearing inside his rain jacket. Max lunged forward with a deep, threatening bark that made everyone freeze. The dog planted himself directly in front of Lily and Sarah, his intention clear. No one would get past him to harm them. Mr. Harrison moved with surprising speed for his age, positioning himself beside the sheriff. "I suggest you listen to the officer, son. That dog knows who you are, and it's not his owner's." The taller stranger's face darkened. "Listen, old man." "Step back now," Sheriff Daniels ordered, his voice steel, "or I'll have you both arrested for trespassing." A tense standoff followed, broken only by the rumble of thunder overhead. Rain pounded against the roof as the two men exchanged glances, calculating their odds. "Fine," the taller one finally said, raising his hands in mock surrender. "We'll clear this up tomorrow, but that dog is coming with us." He whistled sharply. "Duke, come." Max didn't move, his amber eyes fixed on the strangers with unmistakable hostility. "Seems he disagrees with you," Mr. Harrison observed dryly. The shorter man spat on the porch. "This isn't over." With a final glare, the two retreated to their truck, engine roaring to life moments later. Sheriff Daniels watched until their taillights disappeared down the driveway before closing and locking the door. "I don't like this one bit," he muttered, turning back to the room. "Those aren't just ordinary dog thieves." "Why would anyone steal a police dog?" Sarah asked, still holding Lily protectively. "And why throw him down a well?" Mr. Harrison added. The sheriff shook his head grimly. "I've got some theories, none of them good." He knelt to examine Max more closely, extending his hand palm up for the dog to sniff. "He was one of our department's best before his handler, Officer Collins, was killed during a drug bust. Max was there when it happened." "That's awful," Sarah whispered. Lily wiggled out from her blanket cocoon and slid to the floor beside Max. The German shepherd immediately softened, turning from fierce protector to gentle companion as the little girl wrapped her arms around his damp neck. "He's still sad about it," Lily said with the simple clarity of a child. "I can tell." Sheriff Daniels nodded slowly. "Dogs grieve just like people. Max wouldn't work with a new handler afterward, became too aggressive in training, too unpredictable. The department couldn't keep him, but nobody wanted to put him down either, so he went to the shelter." "And then someone stole him," Mr. Harrison finished. "But why?" "Could be they recognized his training," the sheriff speculated. "A police dog has skills that could be valuable to the wrong people." A sudden thought seemed to occur to him, and he pulled out his radio, stepping away to speak privately. The others could hear only fragments. Suspicious activity. Former K9. Possible connection. While the adults talked, Lily focused entirely on Max. The dog lay beside her now, his head in her lap, eyes half closed as her small fingers gently stroked his ears. One was perfectly pointed, the other permanently bent at the tip, giving him a perpetually curious expression. "You're safe now," she whispered to him. "Those bad men won't get you." Max's tail thumped weakly against the floor in response. Sheriff Daniels returned, his expression grave. "I need to go check something out. Those men match the description of suspects in several burglaries in the area. I think they might be using the storm as cover for another job." "You're leaving?" Sarah asked anxiously, glancing toward the door. "I don't have a choice, but I'm calling for backup to come watch your place." He nodded toward Max. "And you've got a pretty good security system right there. That dog remembers his training, believe me. Mr. Harrison stood. "I'll stay too if you don't mind, Sarah. My place is empty anyway, and I'd feel better knowing you folks aren't alone." Relief flooded Sarah's face. "Thank you, Mr. Harrison." The sheriff headed for the door, pausing to look back at Max. "Take good care of him. I'll be back as soon as I can to sort this all out." His eyes met Sarah's. "Keep the doors locked and call if those men come back." After he left, Sarah began preparing a simple meal, soup and sandwiches, while Mr. Harrison stoked the fire. Lily remained on the floor with Max, whispering to him occasionally, as if sharing secrets. When Sarah brought a bowl of warm beef broth for the dog, Max lifted his head to accept it gratefully, lapping with the delicate manners of a well-trained animal. "He's so gentle," Sarah observed, watching as Max carefully took a piece of meat from Lily's small hand. Hard to believe he was considered too aggressive for police work. "Trauma affects animals differently, just like people," Mr. Harrison said, settling back into his chair. "Max probably associates men in uniform with whatever happened to his handler, but he clearly has no problem with children." He nodded toward Lily, who was now examining Max's collar more closely. "Mom, look!" Lily called suddenly. "There's something in his collar." Sarah moved to her daughter's side as Lily's fingers worked at a small pocket sewn into the inside of the wide leather collar. After a moment of struggling, she pulled out a tightly folded piece of paper. "What on earth?" Sarah murmured, carefully unfolding it. The paper contained a series of numbers and letters written in a cramped hand. At the bottom was a single word: evidence. Mr. Harrison stood to look over Sarah's shoulder. "That looks like a code of some kind. Or coordinates, maybe." Sarah's hands trembled slightly. "Officer Collins, Max's handler, was killed during a drug bust. What if he found something important and hid it with Max? And what if those men weren't after the dog, but what he was carrying?" Mr. Harrison finished grimly. A heavy silence fell over the room, broken only by the crackling fire and the persistent drumming of rain on the roof. Outside, the storm continued unabated, sheets of water cascading past the windows and turning the yard into a muddy lake. Max lifted his head suddenly, ears pricked forward, a low growl building in his chest. "What is it, boy?" Mr. Harrison asked, moving to the window. "Is someone out there?" Sarah whispered, pulling Lily closer to her side. Mr. Harrison peered through the curtains, then relaxed slightly. "Just a branch down in the yard. Storm's doing a number on those old oak trees." Max wasn't convinced. He rose to his feet, moving stiffly to the front door, where he stood alert, listening intently. "He hears something," Lily said with absolute certainty. Sarah glanced nervously at the phone. "Should we try calling the sheriff again?" "Lines are still down." Mr. Harrison moved to stand beside Max, one weathered hand resting on the dog's back. "But I think our friend here would let us know if those men had returned." As if to reassure them, Max turned from the door and returned to Lily's side, settling down beside her once more. But his body remained tense, his eyes fixed on the door. "I don't like this," Sarah murmured, running a hand through her damp hair. "First Lily falls in the well, then we rescue a police dog with some kind of secret message, and now strangers are looking for him." She looked toward Mr. Harrison. "What have we gotten ourselves into?" The old man's face was solemn. "Something bigger than a lost dog, that's for certain." He nodded toward the piece of paper Sarah still held. "That needs to get to the sheriff as soon as possible." "But we can't leave, not in this storm, not with those men possibly still out there," Sarah protested. "We'll wait until morning then, or until the sheriff returns with backup." Mr. Harrison's tone was practical. "In the meantime, why don't you put Lily to bed? The excitement's been enough for one day, and she's about to fall asleep where she sits." He was right. Despite her obvious desire to stay with Max, Lily's eyes were drooping, her small body swaying with exhaustion. "Come on, sweetie," Sarah said gently, helping Lily to her feet. "Bedtime." "Can Max come too?" Lily asked sleepily, one hand still clutching the dog's fur. Sarah hesitated, looking to Mr. Harrison for guidance. "I think that's a fine idea," the old man said. "He's clearly bonded with her, and he'll alert us if anything happens during the night." With that settled, Sarah led Lily to her bedroom, Max following dutifully behind. The German Shepherd waited patiently as Sarah helped Lily change into dry pajamas and tucked her into bed. Then, without being invited, he jumped up and settled himself at the foot of the bed, his body positioned so that he faced the door. "He's protecting me," Lily murmured, already half asleep. Sarah smoothed her daughter's hair back from her forehead. Yes, he is. Sleep tight, baby. She kissed Lily's cheek, then patted Max's head awkwardly. Thank you, she whispered to the dog, feeling slightly foolish, but deeply grateful nonetheless. Back in the living room, Mr. Harrison had made himself comfortable in the armchair. A shotgun, retrieved from his truck, he explained, resting across his lap. Do you really think that's necessary? Sarah asked, eyeing the weapon nervously. Better safe than sorry, the old man replied simply. Those weren't ordinary dog thieves. The way they carried themselves, the look in their eyes, they're dangerous men. Sarah sank onto the couch, suddenly overwhelmed by the day's events. I don't understand any of this. Why us? Why our well? Wrong place, right time maybe, Mr. Harrison suggested. Or maybe they knew the area. Knew that well was remote enough that no one would hear a dog barking from inside it. He paused, considering. Where's your husband in all this? Should we try to reach him? Sarah's face tightened. He's not in the picture anymore. Left 3 months ago. I'm sorry to hear that. Don't be. It's better this way. Sarah's tone made it clear the subject was closed. She glanced toward Lily's bedroom door. She's been through so much already. And now this. Children are resilient, Mr. Harrison said kindly, and that one's got more courage than most adults I know. Going into that well, risking her life for a dog she'd never met. That's something special. Sarah smiled faintly. She's always had a soft spot for animals, but this connection with Max, it's different. It's like they understand each other somehow. Sometimes the best friendships are forged in the darkest moments, the old man observed. They saved each other down in that well. That creates a bond not easily broken. They lapsed into comfortable silence, listening to the storm's fury gradually diminish as the night wore on. Eventually, Mr. Harrison insisted Sarah get some rest, while he took the first watch. Too exhausted to argue, she retreated to her bedroom, leaving the door ajar so she could hear if anything happened. Hours passed. The rain tapered to a gentle patter, then stopped altogether. Clouds parted to reveal a half-moon that cast silver light across the sodden landscape. Inside the farmhouse, all was quiet save for the occasional creak of old timbers settling. Just before dawn, Max's warning growl jolted Sarah from a fitful sleep. She rushed to Lily's room to find the German Shepherd standing rigid at the bedroom window, hackles raised, a constant low rumble emanating from his throat. "What is it, boy?" she whispered, moving cautiously to peer outside. At first, she saw nothing in the pre-dawn gloom. Then a shadow moved near the tree line, a figure darting between trunks, approaching the house from the rear. Another shadow followed, then a third. Sarah's heart pounded as she backed away from the window. "Lily, wake up," she urged, gently shaking her daughter. "We need to be very quiet now." Lily blinked awake, immediately sensing the tension. "Mom, what's wrong?" "There are people outside," Sarah whispered, helping Lily out of bed. "We need to find Mr. Harrison." But when they crept into the living room, the armchair was empty. Mr. Harrison was gone, the front door slightly ajar. "Oh no," Sarah breathed, fear knotting in her stomach. "Where did he go?" Max pushed past them, heading straight for the door. He paused there, looking back at them expectantly, then nudged the door open wider with his nose. "I think he wants us to follow him," Lily whispered, clutching her mother's hand. "We can't go outside," Sarah protested. "It's not safe." But even as she spoke, a muffled thud came from the back of the house, followed by the sound of breaking glass. Someone was breaking in. "We don't have a choice," Sarah realized, quickly slipping her feet into shoes. She grabbed Lily's jacket from the hook by the door and helped her into it. "Stay close to me and Max. We need to find Mr. Harrison or get to the road and flag down help." With Max leading the way, they slipped out the front door and into the misty pre-dawn light. The German Shepherd moved with confident purpose, guiding them along the side of the house, away from where the intruders were entering. They had just reached the corner when a shout went up from behind them. "There they are! By the porch!" "Run!" Sarah cried, gripping Lily's hand tightly as they broke into a sprint. Max charged ahead, leading them toward the tree line. The forest offered cover, places to hide, but also dangers. Fallen branches, muddy sinkholes from the storm, and, most worryingly, the old well. Footsteps pounded behind them, gaining rapidly. Sarah's lungs burned as she pushed herself to run faster, half dragging Lily alongside her. The little girl stumbled, nearly falling, and Sarah made a split-second decision. She scooped Lily into her arms and continued running, her pace slowed by the additional weight, but her determination undiminished. "Stop!" a harsh voice commanded from behind them. "We just want the dog and what he's carrying." Sarah didn't waste breath responding. They reached the trees, plunging into the dripping foliage. Max darted back and forth ahead of them, choosing the clearest path, pausing occasionally to ensure they were following. "Mom, I'm scared," Lily whimpered against her neck. "It's going to be okay," Sarah panted, though she had no idea if that was true. "Just hold on tight." They crashed through underbrush, splashed through puddles, ducked beneath low-hanging branches. The voices behind them grew fainter, then louder again as their pursuers split up to cover more ground. Abruptly, Max halted in a small clearing, standing stock still, ears swiveling to track sounds only he could hear. Sarah stopped beside him, setting Lily down and bending over to catch her breath. "Good dog," she gasped, reaching to touch his head gratefully. Max didn't acknowledge the praise. His attention was fixed on something across the clearing, a small, dilapidated cabin nearly hidden by overgrown vegetation. It looked long abandoned, its windows boarded, its door hanging askew. "Is that where we're going?" Lily whispered, following Max's gaze. Before Sarah could answer, the German Shepherd was moving again, this time more cautiously, staying within the cover of trees as he circled toward the cabin. Sarah and Lily followed, crouching low to remain hidden. When they reached the cabin's rear wall, Max nudged at a pile of debris that partially concealed a small broken window at ground level, a root cellar entrance. "He wants us to go in there?" Sarah hesitated, eyeing the dark opening dubiously. Max whined softly, pawing at the rotting wood frame. "I think he's trying to help us hide," Lily said, already moving forward. "Come on, Mom." With no better options and the sounds of pursuit growing closer, Sarah helped clear away the debris. The opening was small. Lily slipped through easily, but Sarah had to squeeze, scraping her shoulders against the splintered wood. Inside, the root cellar was surprisingly dry, its earthen floor covered with old sacks and crates. A single shaft of wan light filtered through the small window, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. Max followed them in, then turned to face the opening, his body tense and alert. From this position, he could see anyone approaching without being easily spotted himself. "Good thinking, Max," Sarah whispered, pulling Lily close against her side. "Now we wait." Minutes stretched into what felt like hours as they huddled in the dank cellar, listening to the sounds of their pursuers moving through the forest. Occasionally, voices drifted close enough to make out words, angry, frustrated words, as the search yielded nothing. Just when Sarah thought they might be safe, a new sound froze her blood. The unmistakable click of a gun being cocked, followed by a gruff voice directly above them in the cabin. "I know you're down there." It was one of the men from earlier. "Come out now, nice and slow, and nobody gets hurt." Sarah clutched Lily tighter, mind racing. There was no escape, nowhere to run. Max growled softly, his body coiled to spring. "Last chance," the voice warned, "or I start shooting." Sarah closed her eyes briefly, then whispered to Lily, "Stay behind me, no matter what happens." But before she could move toward the opening, a new voice spoke, familiar, calm, and utterly unexpected. "I wouldn't do that if I were you." Mr. Harrison's steady tone carried clearly from somewhere outside. "Not unless you want to explain to your boss why you shot his meal ticket." "What are you talking about, old man?" the gunman demanded, his voice betraying surprise. "The dog," Mr. Harrison replied evenly, "and what he's carrying. You kill them, you get nothing, and neither does Blackwood." A tense silence followed, broken only by the soft sounds of forest creatures resuming their morning activities now that the human commotion had temporarily ceased. "How do you know about Blackwood?" the man finally asked, his tone more cautious now. "I know a lot of things," Mr. Harrison said, "including where Officer Collins hid the real evidence before he died, the stuff that would put Blackwood away for good." Sarah and Lily exchanged bewildered glances. What was Mr. Harrison talking about? And how did he know these details? The gunman's voice hardened. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" A hint of amusement colored Mr. Harrison's words. Why don't you call your boss and ask him about Samuel Harrison? Tell him the man who trained his police dogs for 20 years is the one who's got his evidence now." Another silence, longer this time, then the sound of retreating footsteps, followed by the crackle of a radio. Max relaxed slightly, though his attention remained fixed on the cabin above. "Mom," Lily whispered, "who is Mr. Harrison?" Sarah shook her head, equally confused. "I don't know, sweetie, but I think he's a lot more than just our neighbor." Outside, they could hear Mr. Harrison moving around the cabin, his footsteps deliberate, as if making sure their pursuers knew exactly where he was. A bold strategy or a foolhardy one. Sarah couldn't decide which. The radio crackled again, words indistinguishable but the tone urgent. Then the gunman's voice, closer now to their hiding place. "Old man, Blackwood wants to talk to you." "I'll bet he does," Mr. Harrison replied calmly. "But first, you're going to back away from that cabin and let those women and the dog come out safely." "No deal, we need what the dog has." "The paper in his collar?" Mr. Harrison's laugh was soft and knowing. "That's just a decoy, son. The real evidence is elsewhere, and only I know where." The standoff continued, words flying back and forth like arrows, tense, calculated, each side probing for weakness. And through it all, Max remained at attention, his body a living shield between danger and his newfound family. What secrets was Mr. Harrison hiding? And would his mysterious connection to this dangerous situation be enough to save them? Do you believe animals can sense good and evil in people? Share your story about a time when a pet protected you or sensed danger before you did. Sarah pressed her back against the cool earth wall of the root cellar, her mind racing. Based on the voices above, there were at least 3 men searching for them, the 2 from earlier and now someone else. Mr. Harrison was somehow holding them at bay, but for how long? "I need that dog and whatever he's carrying," the angry voice insisted. "Blackwood's orders." "And I told you," Mr. Harrison replied evenly. "You're chasing the wrong lead. The real evidence isn't with the dog." A frustrated curse then. "You expect me to believe that? Believe what you want, but Blackwood will want to hear what I know before you do anything stupid." The standoff continued as Sarah weighed their options. They couldn't stay hidden forever, and Mr. Harrison couldn't keep these men talking indefinitely. Sooner or later, someone would make a move. She leaned close to Lily's ear. "We need to be ready to run if things get bad," she whispered. "Stay behind Max and me, okay?" Lily nodded, her small face serious but remarkably composed for a 5-year-old in such danger. Sarah marveled again at her daughter's courage. Above them, the conversation shifted to a more menacing tone. "Enough games, old man. We're taking the dog and whatever he's carrying. You're coming with us to Blackwood. If you're lying about the evidence." The threat hung unfinished in the air. "I'm not going anywhere," Mr. Harrison stated firmly, "and neither is the dog or the family." A harsh laugh. "You don't get to make those calls. We've got guns. You've got nothing but talk." "Don't be so sure about that." Something in Mr. Harrison's tone must have given the men pause, because an uncertain silence followed. Then the crunch of footsteps on leaf litter, moving around the cabin. Max tensed, a low growl building in his throat, his amber eyes fixed on the root cellar window, tracking movement outside that Sarah couldn't see. Suddenly a shot rang out, the sound deafening in the quiet forest. Lily stifled a scream, burying her face against her mother's side. Sarah's heart leaped to her throat. "Mr. Harrison!" she called out, unable to stop herself. No answer came. Just eerie silence, then hushed, urgent voices too low to make out clearly. Max made his decision. With a determined bark, he bolted through the small window, squeezing his large body through the tight opening in a display of remarkable agility. "Max, no!" Lily cried, reaching after him. Sarah held her daughter back. "Stay here, Lily, please." But even as she said it, she knew they couldn't remain in the cellar. If Mr. Harrison was hurt or if the men found their hiding place, they'd be trapped. "We need to move," she decided, shifting toward the window. "Follow me, stay low, and run if I tell you to. Understand?" Lily nodded, her face pale but determined. Sarah squeezed through the window first, then helped Lily out. They crouched in the shadows cast by the cabin, straining to hear any sounds that would reveal what had happened. A man's voice cursed loudly from the other side of the structure. "The dog bit me! Get him!" More gunshots followed, the harsh reports splitting the dawn air. Sarah flinched at each one, imagining Max hit, falling. "There's the old man! Don't let him get away!" Footsteps pounded away from the cabin, heading deeper into the woods. The pursuit was moving away from them. Mr. Harrison and Max were leading the men off, buying them time to escape. "Come on," Sarah whispered, taking Lily's hand, "while they're distracted." They moved in the opposite direction, staying low and using the trees for cover. The morning light was growing stronger now, making it harder to hide, but also easier to navigate the forest safely. They had gone perhaps 100 yards when Lily suddenly stopped, pulling back against her mother's hand. "Wait!" she said, her voice urgent. "We can't leave them. Lily, we have to. It's too dangerous." "But Max and Mr. Harrison are in trouble because of us." Tears welled in the little girl's eyes. "We have to help them." Sarah hesitated, torn between the instinct to protect her child and the knowledge that Lily was right. Mr. Harrison and Max had risked themselves to save them. Could they really just run away? The decision was made for them when Max appeared suddenly through the trees, his coat smeared with mud, but otherwise unharmed. He barked once, softly, then turned and looked back the way he had come, clearly wanting them to follow. "See," Lily said, "he wants our help." Against her better judgment, Sarah nodded. "Okay, but we follow Max's lead, and at the first sign of real danger, we run. Deal?" "Deal," Lily agreed solemnly. Max led them through the forest with confidence, choosing a path that offered good cover while avoiding the muddiest areas from last night's storm. They moved as quietly as possible, stopping often to listen for voices or footsteps. After about 10 minutes, Max slowed, his body language shifting to high alert. They had reached a small clearing where the trees thinned out enough to allow a view of the sky, now bright blue and cleared of storm clouds. In the center of the clearing stood the old well, the place where everything had started. And beside it, Mr. Harrison knelt on the ground, one hand pressed to his shoulder, dark stains spreading across his shirt. His shotgun lay on the ground beside him. "You shouldn't have come back," he said as they approached, his voice strained but steady. "It's not safe." "You're hurt," Sarah said, rushing to his side. The bullet had grazed his upper arm, tearing cloth and flesh, but apparently missing anything vital. "Just a scratch," Mr. Harrison insisted, though his pallor suggested otherwise. "Those men will be back any minute. They're searching the eastern section of the woods now, but they'll figure out I doubled back here." "Why did you come to the well?" Lily asked, kneeling beside Max, her small hand resting on the dog's back. A grim smile crossed the old man's face. "Because this is where it all started, and where it needs to end." He pulled something from his pocket, a small metal object that glinted in the morning light. A key. "What's that for?" Sarah asked. "This well wasn't just for water," Mr. Harrison explained. "The family that owned this property before yours were rum runners during Prohibition. They used the well to hide their operation. There's a small cave system beneath it, accessible through a hidden door at the bottom." Sarah's eyes widened. "How do you know all this?" "Because I grew up on this land," Mr. Harrison replied. "My grandfather built that well, and Officer Collins, Max's handler, was my grandson." The revelation stunned them into momentary silence. Then Sarah found her voice. "Your grandson? But why didn't you say something earlier?" "Didn't know if I could trust you at first," Mr. Harrison admitted. "And then those men showed up, and there wasn't time." He grimaced, adjusting his position to ease the pressure on his wounded arm. "David, Officer Collins, came to me the night before he was killed. Said he'd uncovered evidence against a man named Blackwood, a big-time drug dealer with cops on his payroll. He hid the real evidence here, where he played as a child, and left a decoy clue with Max." "The paper and the collar," Sarah realized. Mr. Harrison nodded. "Coordinates that lead nowhere. He knew if anything happened to him, they'd come after his dog, trying to find what he had discovered." "Is that why Max was in the well?" Lily asked. "Did the bad men put him there?" "I think they threw him in, hoping he'd drown along with any evidence they thought he carried," Mr. Harrison said grimly. "They didn't know about the hidden chamber below, or that Max could survive the fall." A branch snapped in the distance, and all four of them tensed. The men were getting closer. "We need to get that evidence now," Mr. Harrison decided, struggling to his feet. "And the only way to reach it is to go down the well." Sarah stared at him in disbelief. You can't be serious. In your condition? And it's too dangerous. The storm might have flooded the lower chamber. We don't have a choice, he insisted. If Blackwood's men get that evidence first, a lot of good people will suffer. Corrupt cops will stay on the streets. More families will lose loved ones like I lost David. The pain in his voice was raw, the grief of a man who had already lost too much. I'll go, Sarah said suddenly, surprising herself with the offer. No, Mr. Harrison shook his head firmly. You've got Lily to think about. I know the hidden door's location, the mechanism to open it. It has to be me. You can barely stand, Sarah pointed out. How will you climb down? Their debate was cut short by Max's warning growl. The dog's attention was fixed on the tree line to their right, ears forward, body tense. They're coming, Mr. Harrison whispered. We're out of time. In that moment, Lily spoke up, her voice small but determined. I can go. Both adults turned to stare at her. Absolutely not, Sarah began, but Lily continued. I'm small enough to fit through spaces adults can't. I've already been down there once, and Max can help me find the door. He was down there longer than any of us. It's too dangerous, Sarah insisted, though a part of her recognized the logic in her daughter's argument. Mr. Harrison looked thoughtful. The hidden door is at the base of the east wall, about 3 feet up from the waterline yesterday. There's a stone that protrudes slightly more than the others. Push it in, then up. The door will open to the right. Samuel, Sarah protested. You can't seriously be considering this. I don't like it either, he admitted. But she's right. She's small enough to move quickly. And the men are looking for adults, not a child. He turned to Lily. You'd need to be very brave, very careful. Lily straightened her small shoulders. I saved Max once already. I can do it again. No, Sarah said, her voice breaking. I can't let you do this. I'll go. Mom, Lily said, taking her mother's hand. You're too big to fit through the door Mr. Harrison described, and you need to help him. He's hurt. Her small face was solemn, her blue eyes steady. I can do this. I promise I'll be careful. Before Sarah could argue further, Max barked, a sharp, urgent sound. The men were very close now. Mr. Harrison made the decision. We use the old pulley system, he said quickly. It's still intact. We lower Lily down, she retrieves the evidence, we pull her back up. 3 minutes, Max. And if something goes wrong? Sarah demanded, tears forming in her eyes. Nothing will go wrong, Lily said with a child's perfect confidence. Max will protect me. At the sound of his name, the German shepherd moved to Lily's side, pressing against her as if affirming her words. Sarah looked from her daughter's determined face to Mr. Harrison's pained but resolute one, then to Max's alert, intelligent eyes. Something passed between them in that moment. An understanding. A shared purpose. 3 minutes, she finally agreed, her voice barely audible. And you come right back up, no matter what. I promise, Lily nodded. They moved quickly then, Mr. Harrison directing them despite his injury. The old pulley system was indeed still functional, though weathered by years of exposure. They secured a rope to it, creating a harness similar to the one they had used yesterday to rescue Max. Remember, Mr. Harrison instructed Lily as Sarah helped her into the harness. East wall, protruding stone, push in then up. The door opens to the right. Lily repeated the instructions, committing them to memory. What does the evidence look like? A waterproof pouch, dark green, about the size of a sandwich bag. David said he'd hide it just inside the tunnel. Max whined, clearly agitated by the plan. He paced around the well, alternating between watching the woods for danger and looking at Lily with worried eyes. It's okay, Max, Lily soothed, reaching to stroke his head. I'll be careful. Sarah knelt to hug her daughter fiercely. I love you so much. Be quick, be safe. I will, Mom, don't worry. Those words, so easily said, so impossible to obey. Sarah fought back tears as she and Mr. Harrison positioned Lily on the edge of the well. Ready? Mr. Harrison asked, his good hand gripping the pulley rope while Sarah supported his injured side. Lily nodded, her small face set with determination. Ready. They began lowering her slowly into the darkness, the rope creaking ominously through the old pulley. Lily kept her eyes open, one hand on the well wall to prevent spinning, the other clutching the rope above her. She disappeared from view, a small shape swallowed by shadow. The seconds ticked by with agonizing slowness as Sarah and Mr. Harrison exchanged anxious glances. Then, unexpectedly, Max jumped up on the well's stone wall and barked once, sharply. "What's he doing?" Sarah asked, alarmed. "I think," Mr. Harrison began, then stopped as Max did the unthinkable. He leaped into the well, his powerful body a dark blur as he plunged after Lily. "Max!" Sarah cried, peering down. "Lily!" A splash echoed up from below. Then Lily's voice, surprised but unhurt. "Max is down here! He jumped in!" Relief flooded Sarah, followed immediately by renewed worry. Now both Lily and Max were down there. "Can you see the east wall?" Mr. Harrison called down. "Yes!" Lily's voice echoed back. "The water's lower than yesterday. I can touch the bottom and keep my head up." "Find the stone. Remember, push in, then up." There was a pause, filled only by the soft sounds of splashing. Then Lily called up again, her voice tinged with excitement. "I found it! The stone moved!" Sarah and Mr. Harrison exchanged hopeful glances. It was working. More splashing sounds, followed by a soft exclamation of surprise. "There's a tunnel! Max is going in first! He found something! It's the green pouch!" "She did it!" Mr. Harrison breathed, relief evident in his voice. "Good girl, Lily!" Sarah called down. "Now come back to the rope so we can pull you up." There was no immediate answer, just the continued sounds of water movement. Then Lily's voice, suddenly urgent. "Max is growling at something in the tunnel. I think there's—" Her words cut off abruptly, replaced by a splash and a startled cry. "Lily!" Sarah screamed, her heart stopping. "Lily, answer me!" Nothing. Just eerie silence from the depths below. Mr. Harrison's face paled. "Something's wrong. We need to pull her up now." They began hauling on the rope, Sarah's arms straining with the effort, adrenaline giving her strength she didn't know she possessed. The rope moved upward, inch by agonizing inch, but felt wrong. Too light. Too easy. When the end emerged from the well, Sarah's worst fears were confirmed. The harness was empty. Lily was no longer attached. "No, no, no!" she moaned, swaying on her feet. "Lily!" "Stay calm," Mr. Harrison urged, though his own voice shook. The harness might have come loose. She could still be down there with Max. Before either of them could decide their next move, a new voice spoke from behind them, cold, calculated, and far too close. "Well, well, what have we here?" They turned to find one of the men from earlier standing at the edge of the clearing, gun pointed directly at them. Two more figures emerged from the trees, similarly armed. "Step away from the well," the first man ordered. "Now!" Sarah couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Her daughter was down there, possibly hurt, definitely in danger. Nothing else mattered, not the guns, not the threat looming over them. "My daughter!" she said, her voice breaking. "She's down there. Please, I need to help her." The man's face remained impassive. "Not my problem, lady. We're here for the evidence. Now move away from the well or I start shooting." Mr. Harrison placed a restraining hand on Sarah's arm. "Do as he says," he murmured, "for Lily's sake. We can't help her if we're dead." Despair washed over Sarah as she reluctantly stepped back from the well. How had it come to this? In less than 24 hours, her world had completely unraveled. A storm, a dog in a well, and now her precious daughter was in grave danger, while armed men threatened their lives. "You," the leader barked at Mr. Harrison. "You're coming with us. Blackwood wants to talk to you personally." "And if I refuse?" The man's smile was cold. "Then the woman dies first, and you get to watch." Mr. Harrison's weathered face hardened. "You're making a mistake. Blackwood needs what I know." "Then you'd better cooperate, hadn't you?" The man gestured with his gun. "Let's go." "Wait," Sarah pleaded. "My daughter is still down there. You can't just leave her." The man considered this briefly, then shrugged. "Pete, check the well. See if the kid found what we're looking for." One of the other men, younger, with a nervous energy about him, approached the well cautiously. He leaned over, shining a flashlight down into the depths. "I don't see anything," he reported after a moment. "Just water." "Look harder," the leader snapped. "That evidence has to be down there somewhere." Pete leaned further over the edge, adjusting his flashlight beam to illuminate more of the well's interior. "Wait, I think I see something moving. Is that a—" His words ended in a startled yell as something launched upward from the darkness, a blur of wet fur and bared teeth. Max, exploding from the well like an avenging spirit, caught the man's arm in powerful jaws. The gun went off, the shot going wild as Pete screamed in pain and surprise. Max's momentum carried them both backward, away from the well's edge, the German Shepherd's attack creating instant chaos. "Shoot it!" the leader shouted, swinging his own weapon toward the dog. But before he could fire, a small figure emerged from the well, clinging to the rope with one hand, while the other clutched a dark green pouch. Lily, soaking wet but very much alive, her face set with determination. "Leave my dog alone!" she shouted, her young voice somehow cutting through the commotion. The distraction was all Mr. Harrison needed. Despite his injury, he moved with surprising speed, tackling the nearest gunman. Sarah didn't hesitate. She rushed to the well, reaching for her daughter. Gunshots rang out, sharp and terrifying in the morning air. Sarah didn't look back, focused solely on pulling Lily to safety. Her hands found her daughter's small, wet ones, gripping tightly as she hauled her over the well's edge. "Run!" she urged, pushing Lily toward the trees. "Don't look back!" But Lily resisted, turning instead toward the violent struggle taking place across the clearing. "Max! Mr. Harrison!" The scene was chaos. Mr. Harrison grappled with one man while Max had another pinned to the ground, teeth still locked on his arm. The third man, the leader, was taking aim at the dog. Without thinking, Sarah grabbed a fallen branch and charged, swinging with all her might. The branch connected with the gunman's back, throwing off his aim. His shot went wild, splintering a nearby tree trunk. He whirled to face her, fury contorting his features. "You bit—" His words cut off as something small and fierce slammed into him from behind. Lily, her small body propelled by rage and fear, had launched herself at the man who threatened her family and her dog. "Leave them alone!" she screamed, pummeling him with tiny fists. The man staggered, more from surprise than pain, then reached back to grab her. But Max was there, releasing his first victim to leap at this new threat, teeth bared in a primal snarl. The German Shepherd's weight sent the man crashing to the ground, the gun flying from his hand. Sarah dove for the weapon, fingers closing around the cold metal, just as the sound of sirens pierced the morning air. "Police!" a voice shouted from the tree line. "Freeze! Hands where I can see them!" Sheriff Daniels burst into the clearing, his own weapon drawn, followed by several deputies. They quickly secured the scene, disarming and handcuffing the three attackers. Sarah dropped the gun as if it burned, rushing to gather Lily into her arms. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" Lily shook her head, her small body trembling but uninjured. "I got it, Mom," she whispered, opening her hand to reveal the green pouch. The evidence. Max appeared at their side, pressing his wet body against them protectively. Despite everything, his tail gave a tentative wag. Sheriff Daniels approached them, holstering his weapon. "Mrs. Morgan, you and your daughter all right?" Sarah nodded, too overwhelmed to speak. She looked past him to where Mr. Harrison sat on the ground, a deputy attending to his bullet wound. "He needs a hospital," she managed to say. "Ambulance is on the way," the sheriff assured her. "Want to tell me what happened here?" Before she could respond, Lily held out the green pouch. Max's old owner hid this. The bad men wanted it. It's evidence. Sheriff Daniels accepted the pouch carefully, opening it to examine the contents. A flash drive and several photographs showing men in expensive suits meeting with uniformed police officers. Money changing hands. "Officer Collins' final case," he murmured, recognition dawning in his eyes. He was investigating corruption in the department before he was killed. "His grandfather knew," Sarah said, nodding toward Mr. Harrison. "He helped us save the evidence." The sheriff's face softened with understanding. "Samuel Harrison. I should have made the connection sooner. David spoke highly of you." Mr. Harrison managed a pained smile. "He was a good man, the best of us. This evidence will bring his killers to justice." As the sheriff secured the evidence, paramedics arrived, rushing to tend to Mr. Harrison and check over Lily, Max, and Sarah. In the chaos of medical attention and police statements, Sarah found herself standing slightly apart, watching as her daughter sat on a stretcher, one arm around Max's neck, the other gesturing animatedly as she explained her adventure to an impressed-looking deputy. The German Shepherd hadn't left Lily's side for a moment, his protective stance now relaxed but vigilant. When he caught Sarah looking, his mouth opened in what could only be described as a dog smile, his tail sweeping in a wide arc of canine happiness. Despite everything, the danger, the fear, the violence, Sarah felt an answering smile spread across her own face. Somehow, in the midst of this nightmare, a bond had formed that transcended ordinary understanding. Lily and Max, two souls who had found each other in darkness, saved each other from drowning, and emerged into light together. Has your child ever shown surprising bravery that left you amazed? What unexpected moment revealed their true strength of character? The aftermath unfolded in a blur of flashing lights, official statements, and medical examinations. Sarah sat in the back of an ambulance, a blanket draped over her shoulders as she watched paramedics tend to Lily. Her daughter seemed remarkably composed, answering questions clearly while keeping one hand buried in Max's thick fur. The German Shepherd hadn't budged from her side, his protective stance softening only when the paramedics needed closer access. "She's going to be fine, Mrs. Morgan," the paramedic assured Sarah. "No injuries beyond some minor scrapes and bruises. She's one tough little girl." Sarah nodded, throat tight with emotion. "Yes, she is." Across the clearing, Mr. Harrison was being loaded into another ambulance, his bullet wound properly bandaged. Despite the paramedic's insistence that he lie down, the elderly man remained sitting upright, deep in conversation with Sheriff Daniels. "Mom," Lily called, drawing Sarah's attention back. "Can Max come with us to the hospital?" The paramedic smiled apologetically. "I'm afraid not, sweetie. Dogs aren't allowed in ambulances or hospitals unless they're service animals." Lily's face fell, her hand tightening in Max's fur. "But he saved us. He might get scared if we leave him." Before Sarah could respond, Sheriff Daniels approached, having finished his conversation with Mr. Harrison. "Actually," he said, kneeling to eye level with Lily, "I think we can make a special arrangement for Max. You know, since he's technically still police property." "Really?" Lily's face brightened. "Really." The sheriff reached out tentatively toward Max, who sniffed his hand before allowing a brief pat. "Our K-9 officer can take him back to the station, get him cleaned up and checked by a vet. Then when you're cleared from the hospital, you can come see him." Sarah caught the sheriff's eye, silently communicating her gratitude. "That sounds perfect. What do you think, Lily?" Lily looked thoughtful, then turned to Max as if consulting him directly. "Will you be okay with that? We'll come get you as soon as we can." Max responded with a gentle lick to her cheek, his tail giving a slow, understanding wave. The K-9 officer approached with a proper leash and collar. "I'll take good care of him," he promised, clipping the leash to Max's collar. "He'll get the royal treatment, food, bath, comfy bed." With visible reluctance, Lily gave Max a final hug. "Be good," she whispered into his ear. "I'll see you soon." As Max was led away, he looked back once, eyes locked on Lily until he disappeared into a patrol car. "He'll be fine," Sarah assured her daughter, seeing the worry cloud her face. "And so will we." The hospital visit passed quickly. Despite their ordeal, both Sarah and Lily were pronounced healthy enough to be released the same day, with instructions to rest and follow up with their regular doctor in a week. As they were preparing to leave, Sheriff Daniels appeared in the doorway of their examination room, his expression serious but kind. "How are you both holding up?" he asked. "We're okay," Sarah replied. "Ready to go home, right, Lily?" Lily nodded, though her eyes held a question. "Is Max all right?" The sheriff smiled. "He's doing just fine. Vet gave him a clean bill of health. He's quite the survivor." He cleared his throat, his expression growing more official. "Mrs. Morgan, I need to discuss something important with you." Recognizing his tone, Sarah looked at Lily. "Sweetie, why don't you go ask the nurse for a juice box while I talk to Sheriff Daniels?" Once Lily had skipped off, the sheriff continued. "The evidence your daughter recovered is even more significant than we initially thought. It directly implicates Victor Blackwood in both drug trafficking and the murder of Officer Collins. That's good, isn't it?" "Very good. But it also means this case is going to get complicated. FBI's already been called in." He paused. "Blackwood has connections, Mrs. Morgan, powerful ones. Once he learns we have this evidence, he'll fight back with everything he's got." A chill ran down Sarah's spine. "Are you saying we're still in danger?" "I'm saying we need to be cautious. Your statements will be crucial to the case. And Lily's interaction with Max. It presents a unique situation." "What do you mean?" Sheriff Daniels shifted uncomfortably. "Technically, Max is still department property. He was only at the shelter temporarily, awaiting reassignment. With Officer Collins's case reopened, there might be pressure to bring Max back into service. Sarah's heart sank. She hadn't considered this possibility, that Max might be taken away from them. The thought of explaining this to Lily was unbearable. But, the sheriff continued, seeing her distress, given the circumstances, I think other arrangements could be made. Max formed a connection with your daughter that no one can deny. After what they've been through together, he trailed off, then straightened. Let me worry about the bureaucracy. You focus on recovery. Thank you, Sarah said simply. Lily returned, juice box in hand. Can we go see Max now? Sheriff Daniels smiled. I think that can be arranged. The police station buzzed with activity when they arrived. News about Blackwood's imminent arrest had spread, creating an atmosphere of tense excitement. Officers nodded respectfully as Sheriff Daniels led Sarah and Lily through the bullpen toward the K-9 unit's area. They found Max in a comfortable kennel, freshly bathed and fed, a large bone between his paws. The moment he saw Lily, he abandoned the treat and rushed to the gate, tail wagging furiously. Max! Lily cried, dropping to her knees as an officer opened the kennel door. The German shepherd bounded out, nearly bowling her over in his enthusiasm, covering her face with doggy kisses while she giggled uncontrollably. I think someone missed you, the K-9 officer observed, smiling. Sarah watched the reunion with mixed emotions. Joy at seeing her daughter so happy. Worry about what might happen next. As if sensing her thoughts, Sheriff Daniels touched her elbow, guiding her slightly away from the others. There's something else you should know, he said quietly, about Max's background. What is it? We've been looking through Officer Collins' personal effects. There was a letter addressed to his grandfather, Mr. Harrison, that never got delivered. It mentioned Max and your husband. Sarah stiffened. My husband? What about him? Officer Collins had been investigating a connection between Blackwood's operation and a construction company owned by Thomas Morgan. Your husband, I assume? The floor seemed to shift beneath Sarah's feet. Ex-husband, she corrected automatically, mind racing. Thomas left us 3 months ago, said he needed space. Sheriff Daniels' expression was carefully neutral. Mrs. Morgan, I have to ask, did your husband leave around the same time Officer Collins was killed? The implication hit Sarah like a physical blow. You think Thomas was involved with Blackwood? That's impossible. He built houses, not... But even as she protested, connections began forming in her mind. Thomas's unexplained absences, the sudden influx of cash before he left, his insistence that they move to this remote property, away from neighbors and questions. We don't know the extent of his involvement yet, Sheriff Daniels said gently, but there's more. The letter indicated that Max had actually been to your home before. Officer Collins brought him there several times while surveilling your husband. Sarah's gaze drifted to where Lily and Max played, the bond between them undeniable. That's why Max was so protective of Lily from the start. He recognized her. It's possible. Dogs have remarkable memory, especially for people they associate with positive experiences. He hesitated. There's one more thing. According to the letter, Officer Collins had become concerned about your safety, yours and Lily's. He believed your husband might be using the property to hide something for Blackwood. The well, Sarah whispered, the pieces falling into place. The hidden chamber. Thomas insisted on buying this specific property, even though it needed so much work. Sheriff Daniels nodded. We believe Blackwood's men came looking for whatever was hidden there after your husband disappeared. Finding Max in the well must have seemed like divine intervention to them. The missing evidence practically gift-wrapped. Except it wasn't the real evidence, Sarah concluded. Just a decoy. Exactly. And now, thanks to your daughter's bravery and Max's loyalty, we have everything we need to bring down Blackwood's entire operation. A burst of laughter from Lily drew their attention. She was demonstrating to the K-9 officers how Max had helped her with the rope in the well, her small face animated with pride. What happens now? Sarah asked, suddenly exhausted by the revelations. We'll need formal statements from all of you, including Mr. Harrison. Then protective custody until Blackwood's arrested and the immediate threat is neutralized. He looked toward Lily and Max. As for them, I think they've earned the right to stay together, don't you? Before Sarah could respond, the station door burst open. 2 FBI agents in dark suits entered, followed by medical personnel wheeling a gurney. On it lay Mr. Harrison, his face pale but determined, arguing with a frustrated-looking doctor. "I told you I need to be here," the elderly man was saying. "Save your painkillers for someone who needs them." Sheriff Daniels moved to intercept them. "Samuel, you should be in the hospital." "Nonsense." Mr. Harrison waved away the concern. "Flesh wound, had worse shaving." His eyes found Lily and Max, softening immediately. "There they are, my heroes." Lily ran to him, careful not to jostle his injured arm. "Mr. Harrison, are you okay?" "Right as rain, little one." His weathered hand patted hers. "How's our brave Max?" "He's good. The doctor said we're all okay." She looked up at him adoringly. "Sheriff Daniels says you're Max's family. Does that mean you'll take him home with you?" A complex emotion crossed Mr. Harrison's face. Loss, remembrance, then resolution. "Actually, I think Max has found his new family." He looked meaningfully at Sarah. "If your mother agrees." All eyes turned to Sarah. Lily's hopeful, Mr. Harrison's understanding, the sheriff's encouraging. And Max, the German shepherd, watched her with those intelligent amber eyes, something almost human in their depth. How could she say no? This remarkable animal had saved her daughter's life, possibly twice. He'd protected them from danger, solved a murder, and brought a kind of healing to their broken little family that Sarah hadn't thought possible. "Of course he can stay with us," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "If that's what's best for him." Lily's squeal of delight was matched by Max's enthusiastic bark, the pair rushing to Sarah in a tangle of limbs and fur. She knelt to embrace them both, laughing and crying at the same time. "Thank you," she whispered to the dog, pressing her forehead briefly against his. "For everything." The next week passed in a whirlwind of activity. Statements were given, evidence processed, arrests made. Victor Blackwood was taken into custody along with several of his associates and 3 corrupt police officers. Sarah's ex-husband Thomas was discovered in a small coastal town in Mexico, living under an assumed name. His extradition was already in process. Through it all, Max remained a constant presence, adapting to his new role as family protector with dignified grace. He slept at the foot of Lily's bed each night, accompanied her everywhere during the day, and even seemed to appoint himself Sarah's emotional support during the difficult parts of the investigation. One evening, as the immediate crisis had passed and life was beginning to find a new rhythm, Sarah sat on the porch of their farmhouse, watching Lily and Max play in the yard. Mr. Harrison, now officially Grandpa Sam to Lily, sat beside her, his arm healing nicely in its sling. "They're something special together, aren't they?" he observed, nodding toward the girl and dog racing across the grass. "They are," Sarah agreed. "I've never seen Lily so confident, so herself. Max, too. He was lost after David died. We all were." The old man's eyes grew distant for a moment. "When they took him to the shelter, I tried to adopt him myself, but the department wouldn't allow it. Said he needed professional handling." He chuckled. "Turns out all he needed was the love of a brave little girl." "And all Lily needed was someone to be brave for," Sarah added softly. "After Thomas left, she became so quiet, so careful. I thought she was just sad, but now I wonder if she sensed something was wrong long before I did." "Children often do, so do dogs." Mr. Harrison shifted to look at her directly. "Sarah, there's something I've been meaning to ask you." "What is it?" "My place is too big for just one old man. 4 bedrooms, good land, solid foundation. David was supposed to inherit it someday." Pain flickered across his features before resolving into determination. "I'd like you and Lily to consider moving in with me. Not right away, of course. Take time to think about it, but the property's been in our family for generations. It seems right that it should continue that way." Sarah was stunned by the offer. "Sam, that's incredibly generous, but we couldn't possibly—" "You wouldn't be imposing," he interrupted gently. "Truth is, after losing David, the place has felt mighty empty. Having you and Lily there, and Max, of course, it would bring life back to those old walls." He smiled sheepishly. "Besides, I'm not getting any younger, could use help with the upkeep, and Lily would have room to run, a pond for swimming in summer." "I don't know what to say," Sarah admitted, deeply touched by the gesture. "Say you'll think about it. That's all I ask." Before she could respond, Lily came bounding up the porch steps, Max at her heels. "Mom! Grandpa Sam! Look what Max found!" She held out her palm, revealing a small, smooth stone, perfectly heart-shaped. "It was buried in the garden. Isn't it beautiful?" "It certainly is," Mr. Harrison agreed, examining the stone with exaggerated seriousness. "That's a wishing stone, you know." Lily's eyes widened. "Really?" "Absolutely. Very rare. You hold it tight, make a wish, then keep it safe. Magic happens that way." Lily immediately closed her fingers around the stone, eyes squeezed shut in concentration. After a moment, she opened them again, a secretive smile playing on her lips. "What did you wish for, sweetie?" Sarah asked. "Can't tell or it won't come true," Lily replied solemnly, tucking the stone into her pocket. "But it's a good one." Max woofed softly, as if in agreement. He sat beside Lily, leaning against her small frame with a gentle pressure, his eyes moving constantly, scanning their surroundings with the vigilance of a born protector. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks, Sheriff Daniel's patrol car appeared at the end of the driveway. He had taken to checking on them daily, bringing updates on the case and, occasionally, treats for both Lily and Max. "Evening, folks," he called, climbing the porch steps. "Thought you might like to know. Thomas Morgan's extradition has been approved. He'll be back in the country by the end of the week." Sarah nodded, a complex mix of emotions washing through her. Anger at her ex-husband's betrayal, relief that he would face justice, sadness for what might have been. "There's more," the sheriff continued. "The department's officially releasing Max from service. The paperwork's been processed. He's all yours now." Lily gasped with delight, throwing her arms around Max's neck. "Did you hear that, Max? You're really staying forever." Max responded with an enthusiastic lick to her face, his tail sweeping the porch boards in wide, joyful arcs. "Thank you, Sheriff," Sarah said sincerely, "for everything." "Just doing my job, ma'am." He tipped his hat with a smile. "Though I admit, this case had a better ending than most." As twilight deepened, they all moved inside. Sheriff Daniels declined dinner but accepted coffee, settling at the kitchen table with Mr. Harrison to discuss the ongoing investigation. Sarah prepared a simple meal, moving around the kitchen with Lily's cheerful assistance, Max monitoring their activities from a strategic position by the refrigerator. Later, after dinner was cleared and the sheriff had departed, Sarah tucked Lily into bed. Max jumped up without invitation, circling 3 times before settling at her feet, his vigilant eyes fixed on the bedroom door. "You know," Sarah said, smoothing Lily's blanket, "Grandpa Sam asked if we might want to move in with him, to his big house on the farm. What would you think about that?" Lily's face lit up. "Really? Could we?" "You'd like that idea? It would be perfect. Max would have so much space to run, and Grandpa Sam wouldn't be lonely anymore." She leaned forward conspiratorially. "That's what I wished for, on the wishing stone, that we could all be together." Sarah's heart swelled with love for this remarkable child. "Looks like your wish might come true then." "I knew it would." Lily smiled sleepily. "Magic stones always work when you share them with people you love." As Sarah kissed her daughter goodnight and headed for the door, Max raised his head, their eyes meeting in a moment of perfect understanding. The German Shepherd had come into their lives through extraordinary circumstances, trapped, endangered, seemingly without hope. Yet, through courage, trust, and the pure, unconditional love of a child, he had found his way home. And so had they. What moment in the story touched your heart the most? Like, share, and subscribe to hear more incredible stories about the unbreakable bond between children and their animal heroes.